With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Back in the earlier part of the 20th century, Spa started out as an 8-mile-long behemoth. When it was truncated, it still managed to retain a comparably long length, even for F1 cars. So when you stick Formula 4s out here, it's going to feel gigantic. Let's see who will fill this big footprint as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the PRL Formula D Series. And you'll see it all live here on RaceSpotTV. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Derek Watson tonight. And Derek, this is certainly going to be a draft track, but this is now taking us into the latter part of the season as well. So this is going to be an important one.
Yeah, it is going to be important. There'll be plenty of spots and plenty of space for passing tonight. This is a massive track, as you said, for these cars. But then we're going to go to Nürburgring next week. Plenty of twists and turns there. And then we'll finish up with maybe a couple smaller tracks, Summit Point, and then Silverstone will round out that last bit of the schedule with the 1 week off for U.S. Thanksgiving.
So they see what they're going to be up to in terms of that, of course. But when we take a look at what's going on in the points, Andrew Moran currently has the lead by a pretty comfy margin, but he's not completely wrapped it up quite yet. However, it's a single point between Diaz and Vasconcelos, and then it's only 7 more points down to Jake Faulkner. So a lot of drivers are scrabbling over one another to try and reach that second place position. Which one of them will be able to challenge Andrew? We'll have to wait and see. And they also have a teams championship, of course, in this series. And that one is definitely looking like a bit of a foregone conclusion. Look at that. YS Motorsports with nearly about a third more than what VHR Racing has. So they've definitely distanced themselves. It's looking like it's going to be difficult to try and pull that in unless something really dramatic happens out there. It's more of a fight for that second spot between VHR and Precision Racing Esports. And then you got a really close fight for fourth with Divided by Zero, blue and yellow out there. Vulture Motorsports not that too far behind them as well. Some fun stuff certainly for them. But of course, if we take a look at the track itself, the drivers are in the midst of qualifying, and thankfully, with how long this lap is, Derek, they've given them plenty of time.
Yeah, plenty of time indeed here. You got a 20-minute qualifying in order to get around here and get some laps in. But as you said, it's not that many laps, Joe, overall. It's going to be only a few laps despite how long that sounds.
Now, before we take a closer look at them, we want to remind you that this series is brought to you by Advanced Sim Racing. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. All PRL members also get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code. It's also brought to you by Racebox Sim Racing. Racebox offers mid and high-end button boxes for sim racing enthusiasts, from the casual gamer up to the most meticulous sim racing driver. Competitively priced and carefully handcrafted, their button boxes are an enjoyable addition to any sim racing setup. Visit raceboxsimracing.com to get a 5% discount using the Precision5 coupon code. And of course, there is the Butt Kicker. Butt Kicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Let's not forget Muradness as well. Muradness is a performance lifestyle brand motivated by motorsport and founded by professional race car driver Daniel Morad. For more information, visit muradness.com. And lastly, it's brought to you by Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Capture your finest, proudest, or simply worst moments from your hobby in up to 8K resolution. A great addition to any sim room. So it is currently Andrew Moran who holds that top position here in the qualifying currently. It's about by a tenth of a second, but it's close for that second spot because Arvelo is chasing and Diaz is hot on his heels 300ths off of him, as it looks like Moran is actually helping Dowden, his teammate, with a little bit of a slipstream down into the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, as you said, a massive track, and it's going to be a drafting track, so moments like that where you get behind someone in qualifying or in the race even, it's probably going to dictate a lot of what happens here tonight at this track. There you go, Dowden up to the pole, though. That is a new pole time, and he has passed his teammate.
That's about 5 minutes left to go to try and decide it, so he could try and take it right back from him here if they are indeed working together. Watching Tristan Callahan in the meantime, who sits in 10th. Is he also pulling? Yeah, looks like he is. He is about 2 to 3 tenths quicker than his best lap. Now, if he can cleanly get by Precker here, he might be able to jump himself up the order by a couple positions.
Yeah, Callahan, of course, has had a great season in multiple PRL leagues. He's up to 5th in the points in this series and also runs in the Sunday Night Cup series. So he's one of our VR racers here in the league. But he's going to start to pull out here, and I think he's going to kill this run. He's just kind of slowing down here.
No, he crossed the line in time, and he is up to 5th. So it looks like the 76 has got himself a bunch of time there on that one. He had been shuffled down to 12th at one point, but that came at a critical time for Callahan. So watch out for him in the race. Getting back that up, of course, that might be a detractor of its own. As we're now watching, it looks like Michael Diaz here in 17, coming down out of no name and into the on.
Yeah, Michael Diaz, of course, has been the star of this league this season. Has been fighting with wide for the whole season. At times, literally or figuratively fighting, depending upon the track. He's done really well in his performances here, and it's a contender to still win this title.
As he swings it through Fanyes and down into Stavilo. Doesn't have somebody to help him. Doesn't look like he might need it, though, because he's about 2 tenths quicker this lap, and he needs about a quarter of a second. I guess it depends on how well he can take it down into that bus stop chicane, Derek.
Yeah, that's probably the important factor here amongst all the turns, is how fast you can get through a chicane like that. And if you're brave enough or able to brake less than others in those chicanes, you'll make up a lot of time here. And these kind of race cars with this kind of racing, tenths of a second in a bus stop chicane could mean the difference.
Showing back at about 1/10, so we lost some time, and he is going to abandon the lap. Interesting, which should pretty much end his qualifying, because I don't think he'll be able to get around in time.
Wondering the same thing.
Yeah, by the time he gets out, he can probably barely start the lap. He will get to finish it, because it looks like they are allowed to finish hot laps with how they have this one set up, but it'd be extremely tight. He would almost have to immediately head back out. Jake Vasconcelos down in 8th spot. This looks like a slow one from him too as well. I'm showing him about a second off of his best time right now, so don't think that we're going to see that number 10 car manage to go faster than the 22.5 that he has currently set. Sometimes we've been fooled by the timing and scoring, of course, but it's not looking positive for him right now as he heads into Fanyes as well. I'm checking to see if anybody is on a good lap, and most of who I'm seeing is very early on, so kind of have to stay put and wait to see who is going to manage to find anything here. Up, Dowden and Moran are still together, and this time it's Moran chasing him. Is this where he takes that pole back, Derek?
It could be, of course, he's wanting to fight for it and get that extra bonus point. You do get a bonus point in all PRL leagues for getting the pole during qualifying. So we'll see. I would think he wants to be a little bit closer, Joe, if he really wants to get the full effect of that draft. But you see him fighting using all these curbs here, and I don't know if he's going to get the full effect of the draft.
Yeah, he's a little far away, but I think he should get a bit of it. Let's watch and wait to see what it's going to do on one of the longer straights. Not really a straight. They head up through Blanchimont, and he is going to have the toe all the way through there. I have to imagine these are probably full tilt through this left-hander without lifting. Let's listen. Yeah, I didn't hear any lift on that one, so he doesn't have to worry about the dirty air as they fly by the cars that are getting ready to start another fast lap who get out of the way. Andrew improving. It's looking good, but he goes very wide off the final chicane. Will this one count for him? It does. 21-4, and that will put him on the top spot.
Yep, Andrew Moran back to that spot we've seen it so many times, and now these cars are done. There's no way they're going to get another lap in, so all they need to hope for now is that no one on the track here who's starting a new lap. Yeah, I mean, they're going to finish these laps. I mean, they won't get another one, so they have to make the best of this here. If they're going to do 2 laps in a row, that is.
Yeah, that's the big if, I think, on this one. And yeah, Evan Smogor might actually be able to improve. I'm showing him looking pretty quick this lap. He's currently in 12th spot. If he goes faster, he's maybe got 2 or 3 more positions up the field. You don't want to start too far down because, as we heard Derek say, there's going to be so much draft that you just basically have to stay with the lead pack. There is the checkered flag. So this is the last attempt for Evan. He comes to the line. His best is a 23-1 currently. Make that a 22-8, and that will bump him up into 11th. Oh, only 1 position.
Yeah, only 1 position, but that one could mean a lot depending upon where you are. Now here's looks like 3 teammates drafting in a row. I'd wonder if they were going to stay out, but if they could benefit a 3rd teammate with the draft, maybe this is the reason to stay out, as Michael Dowden went really wide in that corner there.
Yeah, I think that's way too wide for that one to count. He had to have gone off track. And for those that are not familiar, iRacing will delete your lap if it considers you out of bounds. So I expect that Dowden is going to basically just play the wingman here, maybe for Vasconcelos, but he won't be able to use the benefit of Moran towing him along, which is a bit of a shame. And they are the next 3 that are going to go across, or not, because they're all 3 going to park it. And David A. Bear is still out there, but did he actually start the lap in time is the question.
Looks like not. Here's Michael Diaz. He would be one of the last ones out here. Diaz is currently sitting in 5th right now. He needs to make up about 0.3 of a second, a little more than that, to get up on pole here. He's looking at his time about another 40 seconds-ish from being back to the line here. Now, you mentioned the off tracks here, Joe. This is one of the tracks in iRacing that at certain points it changes, whether it's 2 tires or 4 tires to get the off track. So it's not always as obvious as it looks from the naked eye what an off track is here when you're just doing the commentary or watching a broadcast, but there are times where you did have 4 tires off the track to get your lap deleted.
That time, though, he was all 4 off was part of the thing, though. He was way out there, so I felt pretty confident on that one. Let's see if Diaz... Yeah, if Diaz is confident here as he crosses the line. 21-8 will not see him improve, unfortunately. So behind him, will a Bear be able to take this lap, or has he already wrapped it up? I don't see a checkered flag next to his name on our timing and scoring, but he's blinking a lot, and it looks like that may have deleted the lap regardless. So that is it for everybody, and the grid is now set for round 8 in the Formula D series. That means Andrew Moran has got himself another pole position and another bonus point, as Michael Dowden will start from 2nd. Jake Faulkner will begin from P3, and Frankie Arvello will be 4th, as Michael Diaz will begin from P5. And then outside of row 3, we watched Tristan Callahan pull that brilliant lap out of the hat, and he winds up 6th. Justin Delano will start in at 7th. Jake Vasconcelos only 8th for him. Brett Accord will begin from 9th. And then on the outside of that row, it's Jason Ahrensberg in at 10th. Evan Smogor starts in 11th, and Corey Precker rounds out your first 12 here. Derek?
Yeah, we'll pick up a 13th at Nathan Miller with Dave Peterson, 14th on the outside there. Barry Cochran and Brian Hotham, 15th and 16th. And then Donald Olson and Clay Harris round out this screen here with 17th and 18th. Move on to Matthew Bellavance and then Austin Harris, 19 and 20. Kevin McPherson all the way back in 21st for this race, with Tyler Gore, David Hebert, and Christopher Perez rounding out your top 24. And then last on the grid is Brandon Walter, part of the Northwest region. He's 3.5 seconds off of the pole here.
This track, especially this GP version of it with the run down into La Source, it's notorious, Derek. In real life and here in the sim, are we going to be able to get through it cleanly?
I want to be positive. I think that's supposed to be my role, is to be positive about this, Joe, but probably not. There's such a mad rush in the start of a race to get positions on a track like this and want to be in the draft and not left behind, that being aggressive is encouraged. So I'm inclined to think probably not, but I have my fingers crossed.
I do as well. I mean, these are relatively small cars, so maybe they'll be able to give enough space. We'll find out soon enough, because the clock is ticking down and we only need about a couple more drivers before we are going to get the lights up. And it looks like, I think at this stage, all we're waiting on is Austin Harris and I think Kevin McPherson at the back of the grid. Everybody else looks like they have gridded up already. So obviously drivers are raring to go here, with this being a very popular track. And there it is. Everybody's on the grid. You'll start to hear the engines rev in these F4 machines. The lights will come up here at Spa-Francorchamps, and the green flag is out, heading towards the first turn. It's a decent start for Moran, but he does not cover off the inside. He goes to the racing line, leaves the door open for Dowden, and Dowden's going to have to chop across the bow of Faulkner. Thankfully, no contact between them, and look at that. We actually made it through.
We did. I'm pleasantly surprised that we made it through there. That was a nice, clean run, but still, look at this, the top 4, 5, 6 now, already single file as we head here up through Eau Rouge.
This is where we start to see what is going to be a main feature. The slipstream picks up. Look at them all try to figure out where they want to position themselves. Dowden is going to work around the outside of Moran, but will he be able to clear him? Will Andrew try and work with him? Yes, he will. He lets him by, as Faulkner will stay in third. A little bit of side-by-side into the corner. Almost some contact farther back between Cochran and Peterson, but they'll get away with... Oh, and we had a big wreck there. That looks like Olson, McPherson, and I'm trying to see who was on his lid. Clay Harris.
Wow, that's a big wreck here. That's turns 5 and 6. More so in the turn 6 side, I believe. And well, that's a bunch of cars in the back of the field that will probably be done for the day. The front of the field, they have no idea. They're going to continue on here. Now they'll be up here basically through Puhan here, turn 10, as we complete or about half of this first lap.
Looks like that started with Olson and Harris, unfortunately. So we'll try and take a look at that a little later down the line. It certainly was dramatic. Not too shocked, considering that's another pinch point on the first lap there into Les Combes. Out through Fanyes, so your order is Dowden, Moran, and Faulkner, your top 3. I don't expect it to stay that way, frankly.
I'm not sure, because, I mean, hold on, there's Jason Arnsberger around. Had to talk to him earlier, we'll talk about that later, but he was pretty hopeful about this race tonight, Joe, and now finds himself falling back here quickly as the rejoin was a little scary there.
He was able to get back on, but yeah, that that might get a little bit of a talking about post-race with whoever had to make that dodge. Moran looking around the outside, and yeah, it's looking like team tactics there, although awful deep into the corner for Andrew. Michael has to give him the space. This backs up Faulkner as well, and Arvello also has to watch out. Looks like Nathan Miller in pit lane for something, not quite sure what. Little bit of a battle down into La Source, Dowden behind. Not going to try and take that one back this time. Behind them, the teammates of Diaz and Arvello also swapping positions.
Oh, someone way off there. back. Was that a bear back there that I saw off track?
Not sure who that was, but we'll try and get that information in a little bit. As we head back up the hill, we're going up the Kimmel Straight once again. This time, though, a lot closer. Will Faulkner try to pass one of the two teammates, or is he going to be content to just sit behind them here? They're starting to distance themselves from those behind. Yeah, there it is. He uses that slipstream to easily go past Moran. 2 by 2 in behind. This caused us problems last time, and it's Callahan who is racing with Diaz at the front of that little pack, and he gets a little bit of a touch. That's going to send him into the side with another car, and I think they're going to get away with it, but just barely. That was Delano.
Wow, there's a sponsor board right there that is upset and well out of place now, but was that a wing? I thought it was a sponsor board. Okay, it looks like it might have been a wing. I might be wrong there, but kept the car moving. Oh yeah, that's definitely a wing. Okay, never mind. That's gonna be Callahan there.
Ooh, that's going to be really bad news for him, and he's already looking quite slow in a straight line because of it. In fact, the car is sketchy down through one of the faster corners. He pulls off to the side and allows Corey Precker to go on through. So there goes his race away in a hurry, and they don't have a spare car, so he's going to have to wait for the team to repair and replace that wing.
Now, and the real bad news for him, you know, you and I talked both off air and at the beginning of this broadcast about how big this track is and how long this track is, and that happened pretty early in the lap. So he's got to get himself all the way back around here to get pit road, unless he wants to tow and eat all that time. So this would be a long, treacherous lap for Tristan Callahan, pardon me, to hopefully not wreck that car even worse.
It really will, yeah. I'm sure he's not having a fun time the way it looked like it was handling as we zip over the Bridgestone banner and into the final chicane. Following the leaders is still Dowden, Faulkner, Moran, your top three right now. Diaz and Arvello are trying desperately to cling to their toe on the back, and they're going to get a nice pull if they can stay this close on to the Kimmel Straight. But before they reach that, we're going to take a look at some replays from earlier on in the race. This is the first one with the big accident between Harris and Olsen. Just tangling, and up and over he goes.
And just, I mean, it cut right in front of him. I don't think he just thought he was clear and wasn't, or if maybe he just dove it in too hard and couldn't get on the brakes, but wow, it was right across his nose.
Yeah, unfortunately, just wasn't quite enough space, maybe a little miscommunication there. This time it's going to be Moran using both the cars in front to see if he can get a 2-for-1. He might need some help from his teammate. He's not going to get it because Michael is going to fight hard to retain that lead. Now he finally slips in behind him. Andrew is your leader once again, but it had the effect I spoke of, Derek. Michael Diaz and Frankie Arvello are right on top of him.
You know, I'm really, as we watch a replay here, that's going to be, wow, that's a different one here.
This is out of Blanchimont. So Peterson, Cochran, and Miller got together. Yeah, and I'd mentioned Miller was in pit lane, so that answers what happened to him on that one. And we come back live, so a bit of an unfortunate end to that.
Here that I'm surprised by these I'm surprised by Moran and Dowden, Joe. What we've seen so far in this Formula D League is this team has been very willing to work together and sort of pull away from the field. This early racing for spots, I'm not opposed to racing a teammate for spots, but I would have thought they would have put more gap between them and the field with that drafting and then went to fighting later. To do it right now, as you said, has made this more of a race than it would have been had they waited another 5, 6, 7 minutes to do that.
But they haven't been able to stretch away. Even when they were leapfrogging, I think Faulkner was still with them, so I don't know that they really had much choice. They were trying their best, but it's still a 5-car battle, and here we're going to see it once again, trying to switch out. And will we see Faulkner once again insert himself? Not this time.
No, in fact, this time he's way wide here, and he's going to fall back to probably third, if not fourth, to end this battle.
So Dowden, yeah, you're right. He lost a couple positions just going way too deep. That's Diaz now in front of him. He thinks about it down into La Source, but decides to get back into the line. Not only do we have these 5 cars, but Vasconcelos, their teammate, looks like he might catch up. And we also got a battle down for 10th place between Smogor and Hotham. Looks like Evan will come out in the top 10 on that one.
All right, well, we're seeing beautiful battles here going on, and probably a lot closer racing than what I was fearing may not happen, but right now we see Brett Accord, Justin Delano, and Corey Precker, 7, 8, and 9 here on track. This is a little bit back from the leader, but they're still having their own battle here. But let's go back to lead here. We have a fight here for the front.
3 wide down into Lacombe, down to the inside. Is it going to be Dowden who takes it back? He thinks about it, but he can't quite finish the job. Diaz is the one he's battling with at this stage. Almost chops him off, but has to leave him the space around the outside as they come down into Rivage. Accord apparently in the background had a little bit of a spin. Not sure entirely what happened there, but we'll take a look later on. Diaz has to give it up. Cut back underneath from Moran. Doesn't have the speed.
Wow, same song, different verse. Another week here where Diaz is right up here with the Yeez Motorsports drivers, battling it for the lead. What a great job here by Diaz to stick to his guns here and be aggressive, but he's now going to get past, I think, here. Maybe go back to P3.
Andrew's going to attempt to, but he's going to do it the long way around, and actually quite successfully. That was a pretty slick move. I didn't think he was going to get that one done.
Yeah, that's just one of those corners where you have to, sacrifice in the beginning to set up the second turn to be up in the lead here. But man, now look at Michael Dowden. Because of the battling behind him, he's for the first time this race opened up a 1 second lead here on this race.
So is that going to be enough? Is that 1 second going to allow him to break away? Or are they going to just reel him right back in? 5 cars all together in a train. So it's certainly going to make life interesting for him if they do catch him back up. I'm sure if he has the pace he'd like to. Is a big look down the inside from Arvello on Diaz. Almost gets the pass done. He has to complete it on the second apex coming off of the chicane. He gets to the better exit. He's going to be able to pull ahead.
Yeah, he definitely will pull ahead here. As far as how soon these cars catch Dowden, it's really ultimately up to them, Joe. If they want to keep battling like this and doing the leapfrogging and the passing, it'll take longer than if they were to stay in line here and make it happen. But now look at that here. Let's see that replay with the Accord, though. Let's see what happened. We heard that wrecking in the background. We were watching that battle for the lead. And there it is. Oh, got a little help, I think.
Very similar to what we saw before, except this time only one car kind of got spit out into the barrier. And Delano actually has come in and taken his pit stop, worth noting. He's farther back, but we'll check in on that in a moment. Does look like Dowden did hold the gap. It's still at about 1.2, so even a tenth farther away than what it was at the start of the lap, as the driven car of Jake Faulkner still gives chase. Is he going to work together with Andrew to try and catch back up to that number 8 machine?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see here. We got a beautiful battle going on here. This is second through about 6th or 7th right here that we have going on here. This is Moran, Faulkner, Diaz, Arvello, and even if Vasconcelos is out up in this battle here. Look at this. Throw a blanket on it and call it a day right here. That's how close they are as they're now basically battling here. This is up through Puhan that they are at the moment.
They've also got Corey Precker about 2.5 seconds behind, but he'll have to work hard to catch them. There you can see him in the background. Will that make it an even bigger fight, or is it going to be a little bit bridge too far for him to try and catch up as they break down into Stavolo once again? And this is where things are starting to look a little bit tighter. I noticed it's down to 1 second. Andrew's being caught a little bit.
Yep, Andrew is now catching Dowden, and I think it's because these cars now are in a line. I know drafting is not the most fun topic on a road course because we don't talk about it that often to be effective, but here it is for the second week in a row in the Formula D Series. We saw it last week at the Glen where the draft was so effective. But right now, Moran's leading that pack around, and they're basically back in the draft here, and I bet within a lap they're right back on top of it.
It's down to 7/10 now. So yeah, they are catching him, just pulling him in hand over fist. Actually, I should say that Moran is mostly catching him. He's kind of distancing himself from Faulkner. The question is that going to be enough for him to break away from those 4 as well? Or are they just going to do the exact same thing to him once Andrew catches up to Michael? They exit out of La Source, plunge down the hill towards Eau Rouge, and once again, you're going to see them start to use that hole punched in the air to combine closer together once more. Andrew has absolutely caught Dowden now. Faulkner's about 1 second back. Diaz is going to go around the outside, try to use the slingshot to catch back up.
Yep, try to use that slingshot. But I think the effective way to pass here is to know you confidently can finish it before you start it here. Because if you do something here and you don't finish that slingshot, you could go from 2nd to 7th pretty easily here. But a lot of great racing. About 22 minutes left here. We're already 13-ish minutes into this race.
Very curious developments, because now Moran is about 1.1 seconds ahead of Diaz. That's what Dowden was on Moran last time around. So again, I mean, will it do a bit of the same? Will they catch back up? I'm kind of a little flummoxed by all this. In the meantime, I've been watching farther down. Hebert has managed to get himself into 13th after starting this race in at 23rd position. He did set a qualifying time, but he's really making up for it in the race itself. This is the battle for first that we've got on screen, but as you can see, this might become a battle for third depending on what Michael Diaz has underneath him in the second part of the lap. It does cut down. Maybe it's just that second part, Derek. Maybe the second part of the lap just gives a better slipstream overall.
It could be, or it could be, listen, experience with this track. You would think we all have experience with this track, whether it be the drivers or, well, even us at this point. A pretty popular track across both real life racing and iRacing, both. But sometimes you're not as familiar with this track, and maybe that helps a little bit here. Vasconcelos made a pass there, and hold on, nope, never mind. Way wide, and would have to give it that spot plus some as he was trying to get around Frankie Arvello.
It was a bit of a theme that corner. Vasconcelos went wide, and Dowden actually outbraked himself, having to lock up the tires coming into the corner, but they have been caught. Diaz now has it down to about 0.3 of a second. It's kind of a question on if Arvello and Vasconcelos can catch back up. A lot of questions today. I should stop saying that as we head towards Eau Rouge one more time and up towards the Kemmel Straight. We do still have a number of cars, but we've lost Bellavance, Olsen, Cochran, Miller, Harris, and Peterson already. Only 19 cars still running.
Yep, only 19 cars still running, and we'll wait and see if that war of attrition affects any more drivers. Of course, you know, we do 24-hour races here once a year with this iRacing special event, so we're used to talking about attrition at Spa. Now, the one benefit these drivers have over the 24-hour race, Joe, if we could take a look at the weather real quick. Typically for the 24-hour races, it is much hotter than this on track. It's 75 degrees Fahrenheit. I know many GT3 drivers right now who would be jealous if they could race here at 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Oh, he kept it off the wall. How did he do that? Wow.
Diaz, I think, maybe riding the curb a little bit too much there and kind of ran down the middle of it. Great job catching it. I mean, you said it. Wow. That usually if you go wide at that corner, it's off into the wall you go.
That was a beautiful ride there, off track and not the line, but to keep that saved is a great job. Now, the point I was making about the weather, though, is all the grip these drivers are going to get compared to the GT3 drivers who race here, you know, is it in June or July every year, depending upon when the calendar falls. But so there's going to be lots of grip for these drivers in these F4 cars, Joe.
Well, and I'm honestly excited because, I mean, weather is definitely going to be a talking point here. Apparently, we've been teased recently as we get a different view of the incident. Yeah, he really was just kind of grinding along that thing, and did a good job keeping the car from winding up facing the wrong way. But I was going to say, this track of all tracks is probably one of the most well-known for its unpredictable and very wet weather. So when rain comes, as it sounds like it will be relatively soon, it's going to change the shape of racing here pretty frequently.
Yep, rain is definitely soon. They're now talking possibly the Season 1 update in a few weeks, or sometime maybe mid-season appears to be the outlook on it. So that will change a lot of things as far as how we race, how team managers strategize, and lots of factors of iRacing will be changed by the weather, I do believe. I want to go back to this moment again here, Joe. Watch his hands here. This is going to be the same thing we just saw with Diaz. Watch how calm he is. I'm going to praise this and get everyone to take note of this at home. Look at this. Calm, collected, doesn't fling the wheel around, and puts it back on track. If you want to have wreck avoidance or collision avoidance 101, that would be the video for it right there.
Yeah, kind of impressive. Just kept the wheel pointed forward because you heard me mention he didn't spin it around. I'm betting that played a big part in it as they're coming down to the scene of that action once again. He was losing touch with Dowden briefly. The two teammates up in front is bad news because those two are going to work together a lot better than the others, unfortunately. So Diaz is playing catch-up at this stage. He's got Faulkner with him. They're also dropping Arvello, so it's becoming almost paired off in duos around the track.
Yeah, it's becoming more of a tandem drafting event here. Now, of course, the question we do ask every week, coming back to Joe's theme of questions for the evening, is all about the pit stop. Who's been saving gas? Obviously, we know Andrew Moran's not saving gas because he's leading the field, so the person leading the draft will save less gas. But now Dowden, Diaz, Faulkner, even Arvello for a while was saving gas. Hopefully for them, that maybe 2-3 tenths of a less second pit stop could come around to help them get around the leaders here when pit stops happen. Probably, I'm guessing, the next 5-ish minutes.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably going to be pretty soon that they are at the end of the tanks. Obviously, they limit it compared to what they have in real life and force them into a pit stop in this series as the top two stay nose to tail. Diaz and Faulkner doing their best to try and shadow them, make sure that they mimic everything and keep in the tire tracks of those yellow, black, and white machines up in front of them. Nobody pitting in this time from this group, so all the leaders going to try and run it dry, which is not really too much of a surprise based on the MO of most cars here on iRacing.
No, I would agree with that, but you know, sometimes we use the term driving angry or driving frustrated. If you looked that up in the dictionary right now, Joe, you'd find Michael Diaz went from off track and avoiding a wall to fastest lap on back-to-back laps there. So Michael Diaz currently right now holds that extra point bonus for the fastest lap of the race.
Drivers who have stopped are Delano, Harris, Callahan, and Ahrensberg, although I think Callahan and Ahrensberg might owe us another pit stop. Not entirely sure.
I believe Delano does as well.
Yeah. Well, no, Delano's was... Oh, you might be right. Yeah, it was 4 laps ago. But it was a short stop. Interesting. Well, we come back to the top two once again. I know the focus has been on them a lot, but this is where much of the action has been out on track so far in this race. 15 minutes left to go on the clock. It's still about 8 tenths of a second. It's been hovering between this and about 1.2 seconds, so they have not been able to shake the pair behind them.
No, they've not been able to shake that pair yet, but you can see them trying. And in fact, they've been very easily and very well done. Made that pass earlier. Dowden got to the front and now has Moran behind him. That was an example of how to properly slipstream and do it confidently as a way to not lose time. That was very well done here about maybe half a lap ago. When they did look, they're going to do it again here. Yeah,
definitely working together, leapfrogging back and forth. Moran gets the better speed, the better run, and he is ahead. Diaz keeps it at about 8 tenths of a second. So they'll keep them at bay. Anybody going to pit this time? Nope, not amongst these. We've got another replay of what happened down into Lacombe here.
This is going to be Harris.
That was a bit of a strange one, if I'm honest.
Just missed his point, I think, and just kind of got slowed down, and yeah.
So that's Austin Harris, unfortunately, who just kind of nudges the wall. Thankfully, don't think he got too much damage from that, so he should be okay. Well, it was 8 tenths of a second. Now it's down to 4 tenths. They're going to try that leapfrog method once again, but I don't think it's going to work as well. Diaz is going to get the double toe, and he's going to catch up by a big, big margin. It's down to 1/4 of a second or less now.
What a great job by Diaz here, being patient and staying behind these cars to make it happen. You're right, now they've closed this gap up here, and now it's Dowden, Moran, Diaz, and Faulkner in that order with about 12.5 minutes to go here.
No, I don't believe Faulkner and Diaz are in the same team, whereas we know Moran and Dowden are. So
okay. Diaz and Faulkner are, let's see.
So my question starts to become, what happens in the pit stops? Because Dowd and Moran can probably communicate and say, hey, let's pit in now, whereas Diaz and Faulkner might not be on the same channel to try and make that sort of move.
Yeah, Faulkner's with Driven Performance, and Diaz is with Precision Racing Esports. So you're correct, they're not teammates. And obviously we can tell the front two cars are by the identical liveries.
Always makes it a lot easier to try and tell those sorts of things out here. Close to the 10-minute mark left. Still haven't seen anybody else pitting in this time. As we come down towards Blanchimont once more, this is one of the lowest parts of the track, starting to climb back uphill slightly until they get to the braking zone. Here's Blanchimont through the swift left-hander, looking off the gearbox of Michael Dowden. And this is where the pit entry is. Who's going to take it as they all slam on the binders?
Looks like they're going to stay out again here and keep going another lap. Now, you know, funny story, Joe, I was doing my research today, and as popular as this track is nowadays, when this track opened in 1921, you know, they canceled the very first race scheduled here because only one driver signed up to run the race here in 1921. That would not be a problem today.
No, certainly not. McPherson is pitting in, and it looks like Brian Hotham as well. So a few drivers farther down going to try the undercut a little bit. And yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's something that I don't think we've talked about a lot. This track is over 100 years old now. It's taken a lot of different shapes. And in fact, it started out as an actual street circuit, but has now become a permanent road course. So it's truly gone through quite the transformation. As Moran once again ahead of Dowden, they switch back around once more, exiting out of pit lane. Hotham finishes, and McPherson, both of them with 4.7 seconds. So we can definitely say those are official stops that are through.
Yep, those are stops. I suspect this time by has to be. Whoa, hold on.
Sorry to cut in there. Moran
okay.
Had a huge moment coming out of Rivage and gathered up the car. Still didn't lose the lead, but he was way out on the marbles.
And my guess is he didn't lose the lead, honestly, because he had a teammate behind him who was patient. If that would have been a non-teammate or a more aggressive driver behind him, it would have been more of a battle there. But I was going to say, I suspect this time by, Joe, has to be the pit stop. Now we're down to less than 10 minutes here. We've been racing for 25-ish minutes. I don't see how they make another lap here at this moment in this time here. So I say all four of them are coming this time, and pit box times will be the difference here.
Indeed, and this is a thirsty track too, which is the other reason I'm a bit surprised that they've gone as long as they have. As they come up towards Blanchimont once again. It's now cut down to 4. Haven't really talked about that much, but they've dropped Arvello, they've dropped Vasconcelos a few laps ago, and it is kind of whittled down to these main competitors. As this time, Moran's kind of defending into the corner. He wants to go in first, and both of them are going to be pitting while Diaz and Faulkner carry on. The plot thickens.
I am thoroughly surprised they got one more lap out of that than what the two leading cars did. I know we talk about the draft being powerful and the draft saving you gas, but I would not have guessed that here. So now we'll take a look here on the left side of your screen. You can see in red font where it says pit. That's all the drivers on pit road currently, and that leaves a Diaz, Faulkner, and Arvello out here as the drivers left the pits.
Pretty much everybody else did pit in. So, yeah, I think those drivers at the front must have been lifting and coasting a whole lot in the draft throughout this whole race. There you see the two leaders, Moran and Dowden, back out, but we won't know if they'll get the lead back until after, especially considering if these two saved a full lap of fuel, they should have a slightly shorter stop.
Yeah, they definitely should have a slightly shorter stop. You know, we talk about racing being a physical sport and the endurance it takes to get in here and drive these cars, even in sim racing, but it's also a mental sport. And what I mean by that, think about if you're someone like a Corey Precker, you know, a Jake Vasconcelos, who's back there, you know, in 5th or 6th, you know, running around, and you're like, oh, these guys have been saving gas, and you still can't catch them. That can be mentally frustrating for a driver to hear those words, but I think it's true. Somehow these guys were saving gas and still running amazing laps.
Yeah, for poor Frankie, he hasn't had that opportunity the last couple laps, which makes it all the more impressive that he has also made that extra lap. But he was with that group for a good portion of it, as you see the 28 there on his lonesome. And then, of course, these two. Obviously, this is somewhat later in the day with the sun somewhat farther down. But this is also late in the year, as it's, I mean, not that late in the day. It's only about 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now for these drivers. But they're in the hills, so some of the sun being blocked as they go side by side, Faulkner and Diaz, up through Blanchimont. The two leaders before fought for who could get into the pit first. These two are going to do exactly the same. Faulkner has his nose ahead. Diaz tries to get in there, but he can't get the overlap, and they will stay in their order as they now pit two.
Yep, Faulkner called out the pitting call as they were heading through the chicane there, and made it known that was the intent. I don't think it was a surprise. I think the communication was more politeness. There was not a surprise that they were going to pay here. Now you see what I think is going to be the leaders when we cycle back through here. This is Dowden and Moran here coming around, and we'll watch both cameras see who cycles in front of who.
Shows you how quick these stops are. I thought that they'd be a little bit farther behind, but they're going to come out just with these cars. It's going to be a race down to Eau Rouge. Who's going to win this game of chicken? Looks like Dowden's got a little bit more speed, but for Moran, he is stuck behind that bright blue machine. He looks around the outside, tries to go too wide, up through the infamous corner, and they have a little bit more space to do that. And these little cars, he's going to be able to get through behind them. Michael Diaz now has the toe, but he's boxed in.
Yeah, although they came out side by side after the pitting, I think just hold on.
Two wheels into the grass there for Moran, I think that was, and up the inside. Here comes Diaz. They're going to bang wheels a little bit, 3 wide, down into Lacombe, and somehow Michael Diaz will go from the tail of that train up to the lead, but a cut back from Michael Dowden puts him back up to the point. He's got the inside, down into Rivage, trying to finish the job, and he's just not quite there. He's given space. They carry the battle on, switching back down into Speaker's corner, and Diaz, still your leader. The fight is on now.
The fight is on. We're going to head up now into Puhan, turn 10, and it looks like Dowden's going to try to make the pass on the inside, and will, and he'll bring Jake Faulkner with him here, and we'll see who can get around who here as we're now through Puhan and down into turns 12 and 13.
Almost 2.5 minutes to lap around this place in these cars. So expect them to maybe have 2 more laps, it looks like. Yeah, 2 more laps. They come up towards Stavelo. Dowden leads ahead of Diaz. Faulkner in third. Moran finds himself in fourth. But here we start to wonder, does that mean, because of what we saw from Diaz, that you could even sit back where Moran is and wait for that last lap?
Oh, I think that's definitely the possibility here. That's definitely a possibility to see that happen, where you could make that happen now. I would not have been convinced about 10 minutes ago, but yeah, I think so.
Big move up around the outside for Faulkner. Tries to outbrake Dowden, but doesn't get it through. He does pass Diaz, demotes him down into third. 2 laps to go as they cross the line and get ready to line up for the braking into La Source. Moran still at the back. Will he try and do it here, or is he again going to set himself up for the end? You can see some of the drivers definitely abusing the paved runoff, with this being an older scan before they had put the gravel back in.
Yeah, of course, in real life, this track has had some improvements recently that we've not yet had made available to us in iRacing. You know, Eau Rouge has been updated and a few other corners, so maybe in the next couple seasons we'll see that happen. But for now, they're going to use every ounce of track they can find here. Look at this is Moran, by the way, we're watching through. That's how close first and fourth are right now, as we are about 3 minutes left on the clock.
So Moran does not try to overtake them, or maybe he wasn't able to, as we go side by side for second between Dowden and Diaz. Faulkner up to the top spot. Maybe the teammate going to try and see if he can get involved. He's going to try and bump draft him down towards Rivage. They're going to get away with it. That is tricky in open wheelers, and Dowden will retain that second place. But look at the gap this is built for Faulkner.
Yep, this is what will happen here for a moment. Now, if Dowden, Diaz, and Moran stay calm for, half a lap or less, they'll catch him. But right now, Faulkner is begging them to battle. He wants all the passing to happen back there. as Faulkner now comes all the way around turn 11 here. And we'll come down into 12 and 13 again. This is where we were last time. We were battling very hard. Look what a difference a lap makes here.
Cutting back and forth. Moran does not want to get left behind. I think that's his fear. That's why we're seeing him starting to attack a bit on Michael Diaz. He's got to be careful that he doesn't cost them time in the process, because he really could lose touch from here on out. We pick up speed once again, foot flat to the floor, all the way until they get to the braking to the bus stop chicane, and it's going to go side by side for third between Diaz and Moran.
Side by side again here. This is turns 17 are coming up through. Now we'll get a small straightaway here, but in the turns 18 and 19, the final two corners here before we get back around to La Source. And you see the great battle going on. In fact, Moran now has made the pass on Diaz, putting himself back in the third.
So as they weave across the track, look, he's trying to break the slipstream a little bit to do what he can. One to go. This is it. A peek to the inside from Dowden. I don't think he wants it there. He knows better. He knows this is where he needs to try and make that move. But he's now got his teammate behind him as well. Are the gloves off between them? Are they going to continue to work together and have a plan? Or are they going to be every man for themselves? We crest the hill over Radion, ducking back across. Good run from Michael in the number 8 as Faulkner holds the inside line coming up towards Lacombe. They're going to give a big pull to Moran, but I think he might be a little too far back to try and make an attempt. Or will he? Here he is. He's caught up to them, but he runs out of straightaway. Dowden round the outside of the first apex, inside of the next one. It's going to switch back into Malmedy. He's going to be on the outside once again. I've seen cars carries speed, tries for a 3 wide, does Moran, but there's just no space at the end. Nose ahead for Faulkner for the time being, down through Rivage. He will solidify that lead. It's not over though.
No, it's not over. What a great battle we have going on here as Dowda now is going to make the pass, or try to make the pass here in turn 9 and out of it. Not there. Diaz all over Andrew Moran though, almost contacted.
All 4 of these drivers are still in the hunt. Any one of them could be our winner at the end of this lap as the clock now officially hits 0. Faulkner still with the track position. He didn't give it up that time through. Dowden tried to see if he could challenge him, but he just didn't have the grip on the wrong side of the track. Now it's going to give it even more interesting as they head up towards the braking of the bus stop here in a moment. Everybody once again unleashing these F4 engines and getting ready to try and strike one last time.
Yeah, only a few corners left here, Joe. And now you see Moran and Dowden are basically in line together, seeing if they want to make a move together here, maybe around the outside of turns 16 to 17 here. They're going to make it.
Oh, the long way around for Dowden. That's going to get him his nose inside coming into the braking. Will that get the job done? And Diaz way around the outside, sends it too deep. He misses the corner. So does Faulkner. Faulkner's missed the turn. He's going to have to give that time back. That means that it is going to be Dowden who inherits the win. Moran finishes second. It is a 1-2.
Wow. Wow. Unfortunate, just last-ditch efforts by both Diaz and Faulkner to win this race and take it from Moran. Wow, I did not see that coming. Wow.
Unfortunate. They had such a good opportunity. Both of them threw it away right at the last corner going too wide. You get a cut course penalty. You have to give the time back, and there just wasn't enough for them to try and play defensive. In that as the last of the field starts to come through. We only have, I think, about 2 more drivers to finish on the lead lap.
Salos here, I think, that we're looking at now.
No, this is Dowden.
Oh, this is Dowden. I'm sorry.
Vasconcelos wound up in 6. This is actually a battle for position. Oh, this could end up interesting. It's still important to these drivers. It's both worth more points to finish in 16th than 17th, and it's Callahan and Aaronsburg here.
Yeah, Callahan, of course, had that early incident and lost a wing, so had to go get it fixed and come back on track here. But now trying to battle here through the last couple corners. You saw the locking of the brakes here by Aaronsburg, but oh, hold on. No, he's not going to get Callahan. Callahan, I think, is going to get him. But we're going to drag race at the line here. Let's wait and find out.
Callahan just snipes him by the smallest of margins at the line. It was about 0.04 of a second between them. It's a about a half a lap, I think, for Tyler Gore. No, excuse me. It looks like he's just about there. So I think we're safe to start going through the results on this one. On Tyler, well, we will in a second, actually, as he comes up to wrap it up. 17 cars winding up on the lead lap, but only 18 finishers from what I can tell at the end of the race. Certainly gobbled up a lot of cars, this circuit, which sees many drivers with issues. So Dowden is going to take the win, and it's a good thing we waited. Moran was second. Arvelo takes third because of a penalty. And that is going to be trying to track down which driver that was that took that.
It's going to be both Faulkner and Diaz. I think who both had slowdowns they didn't serve.
You're right.
Before the line. It's both of them. It's fourth and fifth for Faulkner and Diaz, Joe.
Wow. So Diaz winds up fourth. Vasconcelos is fifth. Precker winds up sixth, and Kevin McPherson P7. Brian Hotham will be P8. Smolgore ninth, and Accord rounds out your top 10. Bear was 11th. Walter in 12th. Faulkner was actually 13th. It was a massive penalty for him, as Justin Delano will be 14th and Christopher Perez 15th. And it's Tristan Callahan P16 and Jason Ahrensberg in 17th. First car to finish multiple laps down was Tyler Gore, and Austin Harris was 19th. He was the DNF along with Peterson, Miller, Cochran, Bellavance, Harris, and Olson, unfortunately. Looks like we've got Dowden ready to chat with us. No, we do not. We do, though, have the second place finisher, Andrew Moran, ready to have a chat with us. So maybe he can shed a little light on how much cooperation was happening amongst the top two for much of that race. So we've brought Andrew in with us. Andrew, a second place, but a 1-2 for the team. How much communication was happening? Were you guys trying to work together to get that maximum points finish?
Yeah, slightly unfortunately. I mean, I would have liked to win there, but, it's all good. I'm happy with Michael getting the win, and I got a big points finish over Diaz, which is important in the championship, so that's what matters.
Certainly, and my goodness, what a race it was. We knew that the slipstream was going to be worth a lot. When you saw the one point where Diaz just about went from fourth to first in one straightaway, did that make you bug out a little bit?
No, we knew that was coming. I messed up. I was supposed to go on the inside, and I miscommunication on that one. But no, it's all good. We knew that was probably going to happen, and I was really just worried about the pit stop again. I messed up big time last week, and I finished in fifth, so it really messed up our pit stop strategy. So this time, we did better, and came out right next to him. So we were okay to stay in the slipstream right there.
As you said, you're in the points lead, and you two at the top. It's looking like it might be actually Diaz there that you're fighting with, who fell down to fourth with that penalty. Like you said, you scored points on him. So when we head off to the Nürburgring Grand Prix course next week, is that still your focus? Are you trying to points race just to keep yourself out of range of him?
For the most part, I mean, I really had the goal is to win. That's what feels the best, is when you get a win, regardless of the championship. So that's what I want. But if I can't do that, maximizing points on Diaz is the goal. And I think we touched tonight, so we'll be in for more of that next week.
All right. Well, congratulations on a podium, and we'll see if we get to talk to you over in Germany.
Right on.
That was Andrew Moran, who finished second. I do believe Derek has caught up with the likes of our winner, and we are going to have a little bit of a chat with Michael Dowden now.
Michael, you did it. What a last lap. What a last four corners of a lap there at the race. Talk me through how you felt coming into those last couple corners.
Don't think there was any, there wasn't a ton of thinking going on. I was just trying to hold my brakes last and make it through the chicane, and I did, and I was really happy to get the win there.
Given how everything looked coming into the last couple of corners there, were you surprised that both of them blew the corner? Was that were you expecting that, or did you expecting contact, or what did you think was going to happen?
I was watching next to me. I was watching Jake, and I basically knew that he was going to be somewhat close to me, and then I saw him go off, and then I honestly thought he was potentially still close to me to the corner. And at that point, once I took the last part of the chicane, I came across on the straight. I did not expect to see two cars right next to me right there.
Yeah, probably a surprise, I'm sure, given the view you may have. I don't know if you're triples. Are you triples or VR, single monitor? How do you race?
I'm in VR, yeah. Everybody on YS Motorsports is in VR at this point.
There you go. That's a nice little team camaraderie moment there. So hopefully that should close the gap now to put you and Andrew probably back 1 and 2 in the points. As we head into Nürburgring next week, what's the goal? What's the expectation for a track like that?
Honestly, for a track like that, I think, we're not going to have, I don't think we're going to have a last lap shootout like we did here, but I still think it's going to be important to work together, and I think, it's another track that's going to suit our team very well, I think. For me, I'm not too worried about the championship for myself. I missed the last 2 weeks. Started out with my brakes breaking, and then I ordered the part to get them fixed. The part came, and then I got sick. So then, so it feels good to come back and get a win.
Yeah, I bet that would. Well, congrats on your win tonight, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you guys.
You're welcome. All right, Joe, that's Michael Dowden.
And we've got Frank Arvello, who finished third. Maybe a bit of surprise to him, I'm sure, as we take a bit of a chat with Frankie. Now, you lost touch, Frank, with those guys up front. Did you kind of figure, just top 5, I'll cruise to the finish? Or what was your mood after that? Did you think you could maybe try and run them down?
Yeah, good night, guys. So, yeah, definitely. I was literally waiting on something to happen in between them because I know they were doing a lot of close racing. However, I lost touch with them because Jake was able to catch up to us, and he went into attack mode, and I was trying to help ourselves out a little bit to keep up, keep going with the group, but he lost. I think he locked up on the chicane, and because of that, I kind of lost track of time and also pace, and wasn't able to catch up. But then on the pit stop after that, I started noticing that they started fighting right away. So I was like, okay, let me just do some quality laps and see if that will help me out. And at the end of the day, it did. So I'm happy with that P3, even though it wasn't, as chaotic as the other guys fighting like crazy at the front.
Now, how did you find out that you wound up P3? Was it something where someone told you, or were you aware that they had that cut course penalty that would get him a penalty?
By the last lap, the final corner, both Michael and Justin took a penalty, so they had to slow down. They took a slow down, and I took advantage of that and just went on like crazy. And Michael was like, "Oh, slow down." So I was like, "All right, let me go for it. Let me take P3 at least." So that way, it's more points for the team.
It is indeed, and I mean, points have been difficult to come by on this one. You've got a number of other people up in front of you. So, what's your ultimate goal for the season? Do you have a position that you're trying to get to?
I mean, at the beginning of the season, I wanted to be at least top 5 since it's my first time on this category, and it still is my goal. However, I do have a lot of DNFs. But I'm still gonna point for that, and worst case scenario, I don't end up on top 5, but that's fine by me too. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get up to speed, and hopefully by next season I'll be able to be top 5 or top 3.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for you. Again, congratulations. You got to take them how you can get them sometimes. Podium here today to celebrate.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Frankie Arvello, P3 at the end, which does wrap up our Formula D race. But let's not forget, we have Formula C coming up now. And that is going to be in the F3 cars here at Montreal, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. But let's talk a little bit about this series. Of course, we have a schedule of its own and going to be quite different with Sebring, the next one after we race here in Canada. And they were at VIR last time out. So Definitely some very tricky ones for these vehicles that they are racing, and it's got its own championship as well here. Derek, why don't we head through the driver's standings?
Yeah, and this one here, not pretty close, was somewhat close. David Holland, Greg Seitz, 25 points apart. Then you go back to Kevin San Diego, and then Andrew Hardman, 3rd and 4th. And Mackenzie Rune actually tied for 4th right here with Andrew Hardman, both at 225. Then there's a close battle. It's Connor Wagner, Robert Widgway, Scott Barton, J.R. Williams with 6 through 9, and then Jeff Groff back there in P10. And then we can look at the team standings here as well. Delta Sports kind of walking away with this, honestly, and their performance week by week sort of shows that, Joe. And they got Rust Racing Iron, almost another 70 points over SRTE Blue. And then you start to have the race here. Atomic Racing, Atomic Geezers, Rust Racing Oxide, and Yellow Stripe Sim Sport, all within about less than 30 points. And then Evolved Sim Sports, Destino Motorsports, and Virtual Motorsport. Yeah, that's a tongue twister, Joe. Virtual Motorsport Mentor Esports in P10. Say that 5 times fast, Joe.
I think I'll pass on that. But yeah, it's another one where it looks like the top drivers are running away in the team's championship. So I believe we've got roughly 6 minutes left in the qualifying with Connor Wagner, currently your provisional pole sitter. It's by about 0.2 of a second, so he's got himself a little bit of wiggle room, not a whole lot, as he comes onto the track. This is going to be, I think, a talking point. Both the pit entry and exit, kind of awkward and unique to this place. We're going to watch Holland come across the line now. And David, jumps up into second with that lap.
Yep, does jump up into second here, right behind. And first place, obviously, and now having a good run here. But yeah, you're right. Awkward pit entrance and exit here could make for an interesting moment if someone tries a surprise pit exit or pit entrance that they don't announce.
Yeah, we've seen drivers definitely get caught out trying to pit in, not realizing the car in front of them is also not braking late, and that can cause problems. Or somebody just waiting to brake as late as the other guy and winds up going in pit lane when he didn't mean to. But we'll see if any sort of crazy shenanigans like that happen or not here today. This is the car of Ritters coming down through past the wall of champions. Officially, the chicane is called Quebec, but everybody most well knows the wall on the exit, with many famous drivers having hit it. Ritters does not improve that time, though, is a little bit of a park on the front stretch for somebody who decided they didn't feel like they needed to complete that lap. So we'll wait for them to get back around if they do choose to get back out. Let's see who else is on a good one. Wonder if Michael Broomhead looks like he might be on a fast one himself in the 00.
Yeah, we'll take a look here. Look at that beautiful. Oh,
not anymore. It's not going to be a good lap for him. He will carry on. Wow, okay. He's going to keep going with it. The lap is deleted because he hit the wall. So that's considered out of bounds. So you can't try and abuse that here in the sim. But I'm amazed that car's still in good shape, Derek.
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of doing it here, if there's no damage, you still get a little bit of practice in. You know, maybe you find something for that last ditch effort here. The laps are actually a lot faster here than we've seen. So only about 1.5 minutes at most on a lap here. So he can still get back around and get out here for another run at this track.
See a number of green numbers on my timing tower, so we could be in for some improvement here in the dying stages. Larkamp does go quicker with a 1:29.8 that time. That'll jump him up into 12th as we continue to watch Broomhead now. He is down towards Lepingle, one of the slowest corners on the course, if not the slowest. As he comes around, tries to get the throttle down. You need every bit of momentum you can get in these cars, especially down this super long straightaway.
Yep, there's a pretty long straightaway here that you'll be able to get a lot of run here. If there's any kind of drafting that will happen, I think, in this race, this long straightaway, will be the one source of it.
Over the curbs. Oh, too much of them, though. Hits the wall. Broomhead, again, for the second time, gets away with it. but I'm not sure how many times he'll be able to do that. That one got deleted as well, so even if it was a quick lap, it's a moot point, and he has to cycle back around once again to try and set one. Andrew Hardman down in 8th position with a 1:29.6, about 6 tenths off the pole time, but 4 thousandths off of J.R. Williams, who sits in 7th.
Yep, so here we'll see Andrew Hardman here running P8, trying to best that 1:29.674. Had a chance to catch up with Andrew a little bit, and he's told me he's feeling great about the track. Said it's one of his favorites, but the thing he told me, Joe, it requires 100% focus 100% of the time.
That doesn't surprise me. This is a mean track. Something about Canadian tracks, they're always really brutal. He doesn't go quicker this time, unfortunately. The 29.6 is about a few hundredths off of his best time, so he was mighty close, and as he parks it, that means that he's done. He won't have time to start a fresh lap this time by. Who else is able to do anything from here? Robert Ridgway getting ready to complete a lap, and we'll have time for one more if he desires it. Let's see if that'll be the case. Cross the line, 30.9. That's going to be well off of his previous time, maybe setting up for one final flyer. Greg Seitz, seen him in that Rust Racing car many times, many seasons, and many years really at this stage. And the PRL open wheelers as he heads off of Lepingle and down along the rowing lake. The 74 needs to make up about 0.3 of a second to get to the top spot. Does he have enough underneath him? And actually, will he get to the line in time to start another one if he so desires?
Yeah, that'd be a good question to figure out here. But 25 seconds left on the clock there, and there is Seitz there. Just going to get around here, it looks like.
I think he may have brushed the wall ever so slightly. Yeah, lap gets deleted once again. He'll need this extra lap. They are absolutely pushing the limits. I've never seen this many cars actually touch that wall and get away with it.
Well, as long as we're doing it in practice and qualifying, learn where the wall is, guys. Let's not do it in race trim. But this is Stephen Verity here on a lap here, and according to the screen, is on a faster lap. We'll see if that holds true. Currently P11, resident here in the Pacific Northwest. So it's kind of early for him here, Joe. It's only, what is it, 6:30, 6:40 in the evening here.
Yeah, still dinner time for him.
I'm looking forward to dinner time.
I can imagine. He has just about 2 more corners to go. Oh, Scott Barton is going to improve to 17th on that last lap. And Verity, who is giving a little bit of a tow to Blake Ziti behind him, could help him improve just a bit more. Verity showing about 1/10 quicker this time by. Both of them avoid going up against the barrier. Checkered flag is out. Cross the line. 29.6. That is going to be quicker for Verity, bumping him up into 10th. Same thing for Ziti. 29.9. He goes to 15th as now we check in on Mackenzie Roon.
Not sure if this is a lap here or not. If it is, it's going to be the last one. I'm not sure if he got to the lines, what I'm trying to say, but the system is letting him run it through, so I'm inclined to believe this is a live lap here we're looking at. But right there, oh, look at that. Connor Wagner to set another fastest lap right at the end there.
Yeah.
Now, beat his own lap, so he's on the pole regardless.
Just putting the stamp of authority down, and I can report that Mackenzie has already taken the checkered flag, so he is done, and that means everybody has set a time for 24 drivers out here today. Only one that hasn't put one on the board is Manuel Vargas, although I'm not sure if he's going to be partaking in this event since he didn't set a practice time either. Looks like we've got our grid ready. Let's go through your starting order. Connor Wagner on the pole, as we said, next to David Holland. Holland, another one that's been a part of this series for a long, long time. Kevin Sandiego going to be starting from the inside of row 2 with Greg Seitz in P4. Mackenzie Roon will start from 5th as Stephen Ritters rounds out row 3. J.R. Williams will start the next slide in 7th as Andrew Hardman is P8 and Mark McDonald P9. Stephen Verity will begin from P10 as Robert Ridgway and Adam Kolsar are in row 6.
We'll pick up here with Stephen Larkamp in P13 with Jeff Groff on the outside. Then Blake Ziti, who you saw on screen a moment ago, with Alex Court on the outside. and then Michael Broomhead and Scott Barton, P17 and 18. We'll move around to 19 with Tommy Brissom with Eric Dubé and 20th on the outside. Then Richard Swindells and James Carter, 21st, 22nd. Then Nicholas Collender is 23rd. And then if he is racing, Manuel Vargas, who did not set a time, would start P24.
Drivers gridding up. Speaking of what we spoke of last time, which is that the first braking zone sees a lot of accidents back at Spa. Same deal here in Montreal. Down into that first center chicane, it tends to be quite frantic a lot of times, especially with the switchback of the circuit, causing things to get just a little bit complicated for the drivers. We'll see what happens to them and if they can keep their wits about them. We still have a few more that need to line up. Thankfully, pretty good conditions. A little cool out here, but 73 Fahrenheit it looks like on the track surface here, Derek.
Yep, a fairly cool track. So once again, a lot of grip will be available to these drivers here as we start this race. And we are currently 5:48 p.m. virtual sim time. So, of course, the sun will not set. These cars do not have headlights. Hey, wait, it's April Fool's Day in sim, Joe.
Is it? I'm seeing April 2nd. Are you trying to play an April Fool's Day joke on me?
Well, the overlay they gave me that blamed Dustin Ollis, that overlay says April 1st right there. Maybe he's playing April Fool's on us.
Yeah, very strange. Regardless, it looks like we are just about ready to go. I think we're waiting on, Collender and Vargas at this stage because Hardman is out there now. So everybody just waiting patiently with a itchy trigger finger on that shifter on the wheel. Lights are up, engines are revving, and the green flag is out. We fly down towards the first chicane. Will we get through clean as Wagner gets a pretty good start around his outside? Holland's going to take a big look. He's deep onto the brakes, and that's going to give him the inside as, a lock up there from San Diego. He loses some spots, but he doesn't cause a wreck. That's the critical thing. We carry on down into turns 3 and 4 now.
That was impressive. Stephen Verity, Mark McDonald, and others all able to get on the brakes and avoid Kevin San Diego. That would have been a horrible location on the track for a wreck. That could have resulted in high carnage, but instead we're still going live here, and everyone seems to have come through here, almost single file here as we now head up through turn 7.
A little bit of battling at the very back, but you're right. It does look like everybody's maybe in survival mode. You talked about it requiring focus, maybe not. Here we go, battle for second as Seitz goes on the attack of Wagner. A little bit of a slow exit for Holland now too. Wagner wants that pole position right back as he sizes him up and goes around the outside down into Lepingle. Battle for the lead. Will Seitz be able to pick their pocket as they're too distracted with one another?
Through this big horseshoe of a corner right here. This is turn 10, heading out turn 11 now as we're all here down into this long straightaway, turn 12, and then a long straightaway here before the chicane for 13 and 14.
Ooh, another good run here from Greg, but he's boxed in. He wants to go 3 wide, but there just isn't space behind him. It looks like Wagner's going to be the one to pull out. He is definitely in survival mode on that one. He doesn't want to throw this race away. He's immediately on the back of Seitz's gearbox as they approach turn 1 for the second time, this time at full speed. And as they break into it, he can't seem to get it done. Still some slicing and dicing between them. It has been a frantic first lap at the sharp end of the field.
And look how much faster the laps are here, Joe. We're already through one. If we were back at Spa a few minutes ago, we'd be like, halfway, 2/3 through a lap.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's thankfully going to rifle off a little bit faster, although it is a longer race. So we'll see many more laps out here. A little wide coming off of 6 and 7 there for Greg Seitz. And he continues to follow on Holland, but he definitely did not get the run that he wanted. Wagner and San Diego hounding him from the rear.
Yep, pounding from the rear indeed. So this race, a little different than the one before. It's either 45 minutes or laps, or a number of laps, which is 29 set by race control. I suspect we'll hit the 29 laps before the timer runs out, but we'll keep an eye on it as the race goes on.
Absolutely. But a point I kept trying to get at, and now that it looks like we may have calmed down briefly, you talked about the 100% focus, and I feel like that's going to weigh in some of the decision-making on these drivers. We've seen some back out of moves that could have been on.
Yep, that 100% focus is definitely a thing that has to happen here. There's so many quick corners, so many sharp corners that if you lose focus in one, depending on the corner, you can end up wide in a corner or in a wall here. There's not a lot of runoff of this track compared to most others here. This is a pass for P2 as David Holland sets a new fastest lap. That was Connor Wagner trying to get around Greg Seitz, and Greg Seitz says, no, thank you. I'll keep my spot.
Our pole sitter probably a bit irked that he lost the lead and now won't even be able to keep up with his teammate. Oh, very close to the wall on the exit of 4 there. San Diego, I think, had to lift a little to try and avoid getting into the back of Wagner. And Wagner now has to recatch Greg Seitz. But twice I've seen him get all up over the back of that 74 into the first turn, but unable to complete the pass.
Yep, unable to complete the pass indeed. That's sort of the downside to a track that's this fast, is that you don't get very many long opportunities to make it pass here. You have to get it, pulled out of line and get it done. Because before you know it, you're in the next corner and it's hard to complete that pass. So that's the downside here. That's why we said it's just that one straightaway in my mind between 12 and 13 is your one shot to make it happen.
I'm sure the driver is probably also thankful that they don't have brake wear in iRacing, because I'm sure that would play a huge part at this track with these cars, as we saw Barton and Groff fighting briefly for a moment. We're going to jump ahead. That is Hardiman trying to see if he can make an overtake on Ritters, but no dice. Instead, it makes him vulnerable. Here comes Rune, and he's going to have to go the long way around as he heads off to the right-hand side into the braking of the first turn, given just enough space. He touches the grass and somehow keeps it from becoming a wreck, but he's going to have to cut through.
That'll be, of course, a big slowdown penalty right there for cutting the course, but that was the right thing to do. I'm surprised he's got that car still running with how that car hopped up in the air on 2 wheels like that. I thought for sure he was going to lose control of that.
Brilliant job. That's, I guess that was our moment, like we saw grinding on the curb a little bit earlier. Rune still hasn't given that time back. He's still got the time penalty, and now he's finally, slowing on the backstretch. And I can see whether or not the time has been completely given back. Now it finally has. That was costly. He's down to 16th, maybe even 17th place. Yes, there goes Mark McDonald.
And that's one of the benefits of having knowledge of a track and experience at a track, is knowing when you can slow down and give up that time properly. Let's watch it again here. I thought maybe there was contact on the inside that caused it, but let's see.
Yeah, that does look like tire-to-tire contact to me. I thought he just clipped the grass at first, though. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I wasn't sure either. That's why I kind of waited and see. But yeah, he made the contact there. But still, a big round of applause to both drivers for keeping that calm there. But that experience you need at a track to know when you can slow it down and where to do it to lose the least amount of time. A slowdown is not a slowdown, Joe. Like, no slowdowns are equal.
Yeah, it each is gauged on how much time it can tell that you've gained compared to what is usually the average at the track with all the cars. So that if you're the leader, maybe you lose a little bit less in comparison to someone who is farther back. Meanwhile, this is the battle for 12th. Scott Barton with Jeff Groff and Blake Ziti really trying to see if they can put some pressure on Alex Court and Mark McDonald at the back of them. McDonald gets to the inside in turn 6 and makes a textbook maneuver.
That's a beautiful pass right there through turn 6 to make that happen. Now the small straightaway here, putting up through turns 7, 8, through 8 and 9, pardon me. And we'll see if he gives it back.
Doesn't look like he's close enough. Look at how much curb they're taking, though. You got to be careful on that. If you pop it up too high in the air, I'm sure it's not going to do much good for the handling. Meanwhile, it is frantic moments here. Lean led by Dubé with Broomhead and Rune coming side by side into the hairpin. Maybe Broomhead under threat, though, because there's Tommy Brisson, who tries to see if he can make a pass. No dice. They're going to go back to single file once again.
And that's Richard Swindell's even right behind that pack. He's closing in rapidly on that pack, it looks like. So that's now almost a 5-way battle right there, heading through that part of the portion of the track.
Rune round the outside. Remember, he's out of position here, and he keeps hold of it. He goes off to the left-hand side as soon as he can, but it's going to make a chance for a 3 wide. It did for a brief moment. Broomhead says, no, I don't think it's worth that sort of chaos right now. He's going to hold in behind as he's boxed in behind the bright yellow car of Eric Dubé, who pulls out ahead of Rune once again.
This track is providing a lot of great racing here because of the corners and the not flat out racing that is on the throttle the whole time. A lot of great racing happening already here, and we're only about 6.5 laps in.
This has been fantastic stuff. Looks like Rune's not giving up. He tries to make a move down into 6, but he can't get there. Goes for the cutback and goes ahead of Michael Broomhead just at the right moment. It does give him the launch. Here comes Dubé defending down to the inside, up towards turn 9, under the bridge, curved braking zone into here, but he fends him off. That almost gives an opportunity to Michael. A nice switchback once again from Mackenzie.
Beautiful racing going here. Look, there's still 4 deep here, almost 5 deep behind him here, as they're now up through turns 10 and 11. Now about to find that long straightaway here.
Whoa!
And hold on.
That was Eric just spinning the tires up off the corner. Unfortunately, finding that you can goose these things a little bit too hard, unfortunately. So now Mackenzie has finally passed him, although Broomhead's still chasing him. So you could have a fight as we jump forward to another little battle here. It looks like Verity and Ridgeway fighting for 8th position, but Robert will fend him off. This is for the 8th spot.
This is for the 8th spot. To go back to what happened a second ago, the comment you made earlier was the drivers should be grateful there's no brake wear or, heating of the brakes here. There are heating of the tires, though, and that may be part of what helped Dubé and others spin these cars around at this track is with how often you're on the brakes here and how hard you're on the brakes, you'll be heating those tires up and losing a little bit of grip on them as this race goes on here. But now we're back under the bridge. I think we're going back to the lead here. This is David Holland and Greg Seitz still all over each other.
And Wagner's lost out to San Diego behind them. There you can see. Interesting stuff. I thought it was going to be Wagner challenging Seitz and Holland, but no. It is going to be Rust Racing versus David Holland's Delta Sport car. In fact, he's very, very close to the rear wing of that number 28. He's going to look around the left-hand side as they fly down towards the braking for the Wall of Champions. It's going to be tough to make this pass from this position. Will he back out of it, or is he going to force the 2 wide? He backs out of it.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't back out of it, what he does there is he probably causes both drivers to slow down. But, man, that last corner scares me every time at how wide they get up there on that curbing. It's hard to tell from an angle if they just got wide or if they hit a wall sometimes.
I'm checking. Oh, we might want to replay. I think Greg did actually hit it. And again, they could wind up with some damage. We saw a lot of people get away with it. But if his suspension is slightly bent, that will really change the handling of this car in a hurry. Here it is. Oh, that was a pretty hard hit. Put the tire barrier, and that kind of steered the car into the concrete. It does look like he's holding his pace up, so maybe he got away lucky again.
In the words of the Killers, maybe it was only a kiss.
Good, excellent reference on that one as they come down through 8 and 9. So Seitz still within about half a second of David Holland, coming towards the braking zone behind them. Nice little battle for 15th side by side between Court and Groff. Court's going to get that one over the 25 and sets his sights on Mark McDonald now.
And that's one of the beauties of this league, talking about the league as a whole for a second, with a driver field of 24, 25 drivers, is that you always should feel like you have someone to race with here, Joe. I was talking to a couple friends this week who were disgruntled by some races they'd done over the weekend that only had a small field because they felt like they were never competitive and they had no one to race with. But here in the PRL, when you have 24 drivers on this track here at Montreal, you should always feel like you're racing someone. There should never be a moment alone.
Blake Ziti just smacked the wall himself. He was in a fight we saw side by side briefly with Bartin, who is going to easily overtake him, along with McDonald. See if he could capitalize on that, but no dice. Ziti, another one that's going to at least be able to keep racing. He may have hit the wall, but the car is moving forward, and I guess that's the main thing.
Yeah, so it really appears like a lot of guys are getting really close and really lucky with these wall hits so far. Is another hold on, not unlucky. Speaking of unlucky, that's Steven Verity who's unlucky because he just got bumped and spun around here, and now it's going to give up a lot of spots and finally able to get back on track here. And, that's wow.
Yeah, Kolsar got a good run. Yeah, I imagine so. He got a good run. Sorry, out of turn 4, and that allowed him to get to the inside, put his elbows out, and, well, it got him the spot. Here is, saw the replay. I think we're back to the lead. Oh, Seitz once again. Last time, he tried to go around the long way. This time, he doesn't even get the car side by side. That looks like a lift to me.
Certainly did, didn't it? Yeah, it never made the run at it. Never got that close. Like maybe now he's wanting to try the undercut later versus the passing on the track. Now we're going to come back around here through the chicanes and see if that continues to be the case, but that'd be a different change of strategy from a lap or two ago.
Well, and we saw how well it worked over at Spa, where the drivers that sat and saved fuel found himself getting an extra lap. Now we've got a replay on Verity. So did he actually touch the wall? Oh, he did pretty badly. So that didn't help things either. Didn't defend down to the inside. He knew that Kolsar was already there. Thought he gave enough space, but no, he did not in the end, and that sent him off into the grass.
Yeah, and upon second look, you're right. That's what happened. He didn't give Kolsar any space. There was nowhere left for Kolsar to go. Kolsar was basically up against the curbing of that track, and Verity was just having a hard time there. You know, Joe, this season, Steven Verity is actually making the transition from VR to triples. I can't imagine what that transition would be like, trying to get from used to one point of view of racing and then moving to another.
Ooh, are we going to see an attempt this time from the 74? Nope. No, that's a big lift. He kind of reminds him he's there. I wonder if he's playing psychological games, Derek, just kind of making sure that he's got his eye on the mirror every time.
It's either that, it's either that, or it's that he wants to make sure when he makes the move that he doesn't fumble it and end up letting San Diego and Connor Wagner close that gap because he makes it incorrectly. But I think it's more the first. I think now we're playing the mind games, saying, hey, I could do this. It's just like a cat playing with his food almost.
Oh, massive accident. Yeah, down into the wall of champions. Broomhead and Verity come together. It's been a miserable couple laps for the 04.
Wow,
there goes a
another
wing.
part of, there's the wing from Verity coming off. And wow, it's unfortunate to see that happen. What to wait for a replay here. He's just going to pull off to the side and park it. It was a front wing that came off, I believe.
Yeah, and Broomhead actually had the ability to kind of cut across and pit in. I don't know if he got a penalty for that, but he does have a black and orange flag, so he's been forced to pit in this time, which means he's going to have a long wait, unfortunately. So let's see one more time. Almost reminiscent of Verstappen versus Hamilton, just winding up on top of each other.
The scarier part of that wreck isn't the wreck for me. It's how close the drivers were getting through it that weren't involved in it, that they were just sort of willing to send it in there and make it happen. Speaking of sending it in, also a pass there, but they backed out of it here. This is back, I think, for 15th. Is this who I think it is? That's 13, 14, 15 back here. This will be Scott Barton, Jeff Groff, Alex Court back here, battling here for this spot.
This is going to get tasty. Coming down into the chicane. Alex is mighty through there, and he somehow gathers it up on the exit. That was fantastic stuff from the black and orange car of Alex Court in that 44. Behind him, a challenge down into the chicane from Rune. Almost goes completely awry, but he keeps it on the circuit. He's still side by side with Jeff Groff. I thought he was going for another ride through the grass there.
Yeah, it was a really wide run there. I wasn't sure what he was trying to pull off either here. Now they're up through turns 3 and 4, headed to 5 here. And Mackenzie Runes is all about it here. He really wants to make this pass happen here. And finally does complete it here as we head up to turn 7.
Yeah, just cut back on him, forced Groff off the racing line through 3 and 4, and Nicely done there by the 91. Now he's got to set back on onto Alex Court. Rude is still down 9 positions where he started this race. This has been not a fun one for that 91, even though he's had some good action on his way back forward. But we check in on the leaders once more. Seitz is definitely not as close as he was. Sounds like there was a problem with Swindells on the final corner. Oh, he's going to avoid the cars that are tangled.
That's going to be the Stephen Verity wreck. Look at that. Oof. That is a little bit more courage, than some drivers would have.
I mean, Richard did a really good job just kind of slowing up enough. He saw the accident there and gave him enough space. That's a really good heads up. Not everybody has the courtesy to try and lift when they come up to a yellow flag and don't know what's going on in iRacing.
Yeah, we had the term ARCA brakes for a reason, Joe.
it's a ARCA brakes on F3 cars. This is an interesting one. But as we check back in with Holland and Seitz, Wagner's gotten back into third place. But I mean, watch this long shot. There he is, way back there. He has not kept up with them, which again surprises me.
I'm wondering if drivers are backing off here. I don't know what's going on. It's almost like everyone's lost in speed here. And the track, we're at the part of the day where the track would be cooling down, not warming up. I'm just wondering if some drivers are lifting and saving here versus going all out here. I don't know, but you're right. Everyone's sort of losing gap here. At one point, this gap was sort of all over each other, and they were all within maybe a second of each other. Now it's 2.5, almost 3 seconds back to Kevin Sandiego.
I am looking at the text chat in the sim, and sometimes these communications aren't always right because sometimes you have a macro set to it. But Kevin Sandiego did say at some point, pass me on the right, and he's now behind Wagner. I think they're teammates, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Sandiego, Wagner, and Holland are all part of Delta Sport here.
Yeah. So I suspect that was him waving him through, feeling like he was the faster teammate. There you can see him now, yeah. So all 3 Delta Sports in the top 4 at this stage.
Well, we're about to approach the halfway point of this race here. So some of these drivers will begin to think about and set up their pit stops in their black boxes and figure out just how much gas they can take here and feel comfortable towards the end. This, though, is Alex Court and Mackenzie Roon. Mackenzie Roon is all over Alex Court here. This is back for 13th and 14th here.
Yep, so Roon still playing catch-up. Court got that spot away from him a little bit earlier on through the wall of champions. We had a pass just behind them as Groff has been overtaken by ZD. Yep, he's going to get it done. So he will stay ahead down through 8 and 9, but looks like Court will stay ahead of Roon, not overtaken down into that same corner this time. Maybe setting himself up here for Lepingle.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what happens here, and it's going to be a nice run there. Mackenzie Roon will stay behind Court, but still staying close here to see if he can find a moment to make something happen here.
He's got a very good run, but he's going to have to try and outbrake him into the chicane. There he gets the move down to the inside. No defense from Court. He'll let him have the desired line, and he breaks earlier. I think he decided that battle was not worth him trying to risk it. So Roon back up to 13th now.
Nice pass there, getting around and trying to, maybe not. Maybe I spoke too soon, as now they're going to go side by side through the corners here. Roon's going to have the inside corner here, and Court will not have any momentum here. There's another corner there, so I think Mackenzie Roon will complete it, and he does. And now we head to the next set of corner.
Yeah, I was questioning myself there too for a second. I thought maybe Court was going to try and fight back, and I think he did, but just a little bit of a half-hearted move, unfortunately. Ooh, a little wide there from Mackenzie. He's going to give out a good opportunity. If Alex wants another bite of the apple, will he take it more seriously this time?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens here. You know, Joe, this is a pretty cool track in that when there's not racing happening here, this track is open for, they open up the track for walking, biking, inline skating, and driving. You can drive on this track when there's no actual races going on.
And there's a casino in the middle of it. You feel like placing some bets on this one?
Not on this one. I mean, I think Delta Sports that would pay like, what, 1-to-1 right now, you think?
Yeah. Get your $50 right back. Congratulations.
Yeah, maybe not even get your $50 back. Yeah, maybe not. And of course, you know, that back straight there between 12 and 13 is sometimes named after the casino. Yeah, there's that as well. But I don't know. Inline skating. This would be a long skating track. What, 2.5 miles, I think, for skating?
Yeah, something like that. And Court announced he was coming in that time, so hence why he broke very, very late. Looks like his teammate Barton also pitting in. So we're starting to see some drivers. You mentioned the halfway point. Yeah, we're just past it. And a few of them in and out. Looks like Barton takes his service and gets going. Let's see who is and is not taking tires.
You know, the benefit of pitting this early, pardon me, is that when this is not a drafting track, sometimes if you're at Alex Court or you're Scott Barton, if you could pit now and get into clean air and make up some good lap times, maybe that's the benefit of pitting early versus running the tank dry. How much gas you need doesn't really change in the grand scheme of the math. You still need the same amount of gas to get to the end, whether you take it now or later. But I'm curious if Alex Court could run faster lap times by himself than he was running in that side-by-side battle.
Yeah, traditionally, from what we've seen on iRacing, the only benefit to pitting later isn't the time so much as you can get a bit more of an accurate reading. As that was a dive into pit lane there from Greg Seitz, who was marked as the leader, I think, briefly because of that and this wonkiness of timing, but he is down and looking for his stall. So he's going to try and undercut David Holland, who just set the fastest lap of the race.
Well, with the track cooling off and with there being less gas in the car, I'm not thoroughly surprised he's at the fastest lap. I mean, the track actually, down to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, so I think 3 degrees cooler than when we checked it earlier, and less gas in the car. He should go a little bit faster than what he was earlier.
Seitz was very close with McDonald when he came out of the pits, but I think McDonald, I believe, is one of his teammates, so that worked out well enough. He didn't want to wind up costing him time. So far, no tires for anybody, which isn't too much of a shock. Not known as a track to chew up tires, this one, especially in these F3 cars. And with, like you said, cool conditions, I'm pretty certain everybody's going to be fuel only, but every time I make predictions like that, I always seem to be proven wrong by someone.
Yeah, someone will be the bold person to make that choice, see if it can make a difference and experiment and see what happens. But I think in all of the races this season, I don't think we've seen any tires taken on these pit stops.
I think early I recall seeing a couple drivers deciding to take them, but didn't quite work out. Well, there we go. David Holland is going to be pitting in along with Connor Wagner. It is a Delta Sport team call. San Diego follows them in.
Yeah, it's a good thing to all pit together so you all sort of have that confidence of knowing what you're doing. And with that big a gap between them, you're not worried about hitting each other on the pit road entrance. That's always a positive here. And now the students have started a parade here. Hold on. Ooh, that had to be a wall hit right there.
And is that going to be damage for him? Holland is back out. Remember, you have a little bit of a quicker exit here, so he's definitely going to come out ahead. And Seitz not only is not close to the lead, he's got Connor Wagner very tight behind that gearbox.
I'm telling you what, Greg Seitz is like a cat tonight, Joe. And it's like 7 lives there of hitting that wall. Many drivers would have hit that wall the first time and had the damage. That appears to be at least his second that I've seen. And it seems to be okay in the car. No big wiggles, no handling problems. I'm thoroughly impressed by this skill that you probably don't want to have as a race car driver.
And the durability of these cars, I guess. And
the durability.
Yeah. Interestingly, I went back and looked on my screen. It was the exact same hit, just tipping the tire barrier, and it steered him into the concrete a little bit. But both times, just got away clean. But now Wagner is just seeing whether or not he can make this a 1-2 for the Delta Sport. He's got a little bit less than half the race to try and do it. Does he have the pace to get himself back to second? And could he maybe try and challenge Holland since he started this one on the pole?
He could. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I mean, the pit stops are over, so that part is over. Now you just have to really do it on pure racing skill. I wonder if Seitz is going to slow it down a little bit and be a little less aggressive with that wall. After like a second hit, you would think he'd, not be eager to do a third. But he's quickly falling back to Connor Wagner.
Well, for sights, though, he's 25 points behind Holland. And I believe it's 57 or 58 max for a win. So he's not completely out of range, but he needs to start making some up. I wonder if he's kind of hitting, what have I got to lose mode.
Yeah, and that may be the case as well here as the season is winding down pretty quickly here in the PRL with only about 3 races left after this one. So at a certain point, you do have to kind of hit that mode and see what happens. But right now, it's still about a 1.5 second gap here between first and second as we're 11 to go here in Montreal.
He's managing Wagner better than I thought he would. Thought he would be very much under threat as we head back farther in the field to Ziti and Court. Court up 1 position, Ziti the same, but both hovering around where they began this race, obviously. And Court had a message over the radio I just heard, but I didn't quite make out what he said. I guess maybe just work together is what he said.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can head backwards in time and figure it out while we're watching the racing here. But I'm trying to see if I can figure it out.
Well, he's listening to that. We'll continue to watch these two as well as the battle between Rune and Bartin. Rune's still 8 spots down from where he began this one. Let's not forget that he kind of messed up down into turn 1 in his battle. As up ahead, got a nice little battle for 6 between Hardman and Williams. And these two have already finished their pit stops as well. Hardman under some serious threat at this stage with Williams breathing down his neck.
Yeah, I went back and listened. Court was talking about some kind of flag. I don't know what he was talking about, but nothing I could tell. There's no black flags under his name, so I'm not sure what he was going on about. But all right, well, JR Williams, of course, this is P7. I was talking to JR earlier. JR is known for all the practice he does for these races. Joe but told me didn't get much practice in. A little busy watching the World Series this week here, so not as much practice as normal.
Sometimes those things can happen. You gotta weigh what's important, and I can understand. Probably rooting for one of his teams, considering he's from Texas, and is probably very invested in that one. Maybe a little bit of celebrating that ate into that time too. Meanwhile, back and forth here we go. Mark McDonald, Stephen Larkamp. This is for 10th position. Mark with a good run in the Rust Racing machine. Has the inside down into Lepingle. Has to finish it up, though. Could be an over-under for Larkamp. No. Oh, but a slip-up. Big twitch of the rear end there for Mark.
Yeah, the funny thing I always say about those twitches we see, Joe, if we can see them from our cameras up here, it must have been a pretty big twitch in the car that would have scared him. If we can see it from all the way up here. But they're now going to go side by side again down that straightaway and see if they can make the pass here. But nope, into the chicanes. And hold on, they're right back together again.
Yeah, Larkamp parked it on the exit of the corner, just sent it in and gathered it back up. But he's not able to hold him completely behind. Mark McDonald gets the overlap, but he breaks earlier down into the first chicane. As they cut back around the right-hander, he's going to have to accept that Larkamp is through.
We'll have to accept that Larkamp is through and see if he can set up the pass here and see if he can make something happen. Now we're going to go back in the battle here. This is Alex Court, Mackenzie Rune. Oh, yeah. This is Mackenzie Rune, Scott Barton, and Blake Ziti. Pardon me. I had the names wrong there for a second. Back in 12th, 13th, and 14th. This is a nice battle here.
And I think Scott is our hardest charger right now, up 5 positions. I think it was as high as 6 earlier on in the race. But I may have been bleeding them back a little bit, unfortunately. That was that battle between Larkamp and McDonald's that just went by us once again. And this time, McDonald's will overtake on Larkamp. Certainly plenty of opportunities here. The battling has been just incredible today.
Yeah, and you see all the ups and downs there on the side of your screen. That's all the positions gained or lost since the start of the race. Barton now moving between +5 and +6. Depending on if he makes this pass. Mackenzie Rune, though, as you remember earlier, down 7 from the start of this race.
3 cars going to attempt to go into one corner. Not sure if it's going to be 3 coming out or fewer than that is ahead of them. A little bit of a battle for position, but side by side between Rune and Ziti. Rune gets the better exit, and behind them all, Alex Court catches up a ton because of all the checkup. Down into turn 1 once again. Ziti still chasing on Rune. He'd like that one back. Barton with his teammate, seeing if they could overtake either of them. Great exit there coming off the center chicane from ZD. He's going to get down to the inside of Rune. He'll manage to outbrake him down into 3, but he's going to be a little bit slow through 4. Almost wiggles his way into the wall on top of things. Rune coming back at him once again, but he's not got the overlap down into 6. He goes back into line.
Yep, beautiful racing happening here with only about 8 to go. So the pressure is on for these drivers, as you said earlier in the last race. Every spot matters, every point matters. So you want to race for whatever you can here. So Mackenzie Rune trying to get these spots back here and decrease that deficit he had from the start of the race here. But right here, stuck in this battle with these 4 or 5 drivers.
And that's Groff starting to approach them. We might have a 5-car battle for 12th. They're racing, and it's like for a win. Like you said, valuable points all the way out to the wall there for Blake Ziti, and he keeps it from brushing against it, but I'm sure he picked up some marbles along the way.
Oh, I'm sure he did pick up some marbles. He also did a kind of an accidental job of checking up the field behind him, because if you're that car behind him and you don't check up a little bit, when that car goes wide in front of you, you can end up, hitting him. But that's where the pass was right there, by the speed gained by not slowing down. And there's that pass that Mackenzie Rune's been looking for.
Yeah, but he's not been able to hold it down. Every time he seems to get the pass done, someone's ready to fight him for it and take it right back. This time he holds it down into 1 and 2. He's still got Ziti close behind. 7 laps to go. We still got plenty to try and get this one sorted out, and it's getting frisky.
Getting frisky all up and down the field. I mean, if you look at the difference here, even Greg Seitz and Connor Wagner up front all the way through the field, there's a lot of frisky battles tonight, as we're going to see here, the battle for 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, Wagner's caught back up to Seitz once again. He's got the toe coming down the casino straight. Will he do what Greg was doing and bide his time, wait behind him? Nope, he's going to go for it. Big move around the outside, tries to outbrake him into the corner, but Seitz comes back at him. He loses control. Oh, no. He doesn't hit the wall. Wagner, though, has to give the time back. Oh, my goodness. And Kevin Sandiego threading the needle to get through.
Well, when Kevin Sandiego started that corner, he had no idea Greg Seitz was going to back it up like that and put himself in the way. And now Greg Seitz is going to come down pit road here and try to get it through that way. Well, that's now going to make a Delta Sport 1, 2, 3. I'm eager to see that replay. I want to see if there was contact there, Joe. I was first thinking there was contact with Seitz and Wagner. We'll have to wait and see.
Oh, I think what happened is Sandiego may have clipped the rear end of Seitz when he was coming through. I thought he was clear, but there was a little bit of contact. So I was curious why Seitz went into pit lane, because I thought, well, he didn't hit the wall. Where's he going?
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe he hit the incident point limits, because there is a 13 incident point limit in this race, although I was trying to figure out the math on that with all the wall hits. But that, you're right, if he hit him there, whoa, that would be the other reason. Hold on, there's another car around.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's J.R. Williams and Andrew Hardman. Colsar run into the accident, unfortunately. Very similar to what we saw in that run through the Wall of Champions between our battle for P2, where the car inside just didn't have enough grip to keep it pointed the right direction. But unfortunately this time, contact was made, and Colsar looks like the damage is so severe that he can't drive it back.
That's unfortunate for Colsar. We're going to wait and get a couple replays loaded in just a moment here, and we'll run through both those wrecks and see what happened here. This is going to be for up for P2.
So no initial contact. Yeah.
No, I stand corrected. That was just the curbing, I think, that got... Now, this move right here, if he did make contact with Sandiego and get damage, with all due respect to Greg Seitz, that's on Greg Seitz for backing up in that moment.
I'm with you. I'm completely with you.
But I don't think there was contact. I'm going to put some pressure on Dustin Allis, our producer, to get a closer shot. I think there was a drive-through for incident points. I
didn't see a black flag, though. I looked. That's what I was so confused. I didn't see a black flag. I didn't see a black and orange flag. So I'm not entirely sure what was going on. Let's see. From this perspective, we heard it, but the car didn't react, so may have been some phantom contact.
Yeah, we'll have to wait. I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe we can. I'll do some research post race and figure it out, but I don't know what would have happened there. But That's the first wreck. Now we go back and see if we can find the second one in a second here. Dustin Allis quickly on the buttons, trying to find it here.
Okay, here. Let's see if we get either actual contact or
gotta do
a
the push.
physical reaction. He clips him. So if that was enough, then that's unfortunate for Sights, but I'm completely with you that Greg should not have backed up in that situation. He should have waited for a clearing before he tried to get going. We were watching a few battles there briefly. Here is the wreck that unfortunately was a bit of a pileup. 3 cars coming into one.
That was J.R. Williams, I think, the car we saw in front there with that spin around and all the contact behind him. It looked like he just caught the curbing and made that happen.
You know who's loving this right now? David Holland, because Connor Wagner, as we get another perspective on it. Oh, man. So that sucks for Hardman. Where could he go in that situation?
Yeah, nowhere.
Well, as I was saying, Holland, because of the problems between both Wagner and Sights, is now about 3 seconds ahead. Yeah, look at the distance. His teammate could try and chase him down with only 4 laps. It doesn't seem likely. And even if he does, like you said, it is a 1-2-3. Why throw that away?
Yeah, agreed, 100%. Why throw it away? Now, listen, these guys love to race. They've raced each other hard all season long. But with that gap there, I think there's nothing left to race for. Now, if you're David Holland, you back it up maybe just a smidgen. You race it safe. You stay off that last wall. And in 4 laps, you celebrate another victory here in the PRL Formula C Series.
Remember earlier I was talking about Bartin gaining a number of spots throughout the race, being the hard charger. He is up to 7 gained now, doing an excellent job in that 009. And Ziti is up 6 himself, so he's been charging upwards. And a quiet one that we haven't talked about, Robert Ridgway, is also up 6. He's in 5th. I'm trying to remember if we've talked about him at all as we get a little bit of a battle down into the first turn once again. J.R. Williams with Larkamp alongside him. Larkamp around the outside, and he can't get the job done.
No, cannot get the job done there. Now we'll see if Larkamp's going to try to make a little bit of a crossover here and make the next corner happen, but not going to get there in time. So now this is the battle for 7, 8, 9, 10. This is Williams, Larkamp, Ziti, and Mackenzie Roon back up to 10th, by the way. That's a good run for Mackenzie Roon on a recovery run.
Yeah, he's made up a couple more spots now in the process. Of course, he gained one from Sights going through pit lane on top of it, but everything that you can get, and he could have 3 quickly if they start battling, or he's got to watch out. We don't want another situation like we just saw as Larkamp was on the back foot. Now they're going to go 3 wide, and Roon is giving them a wide berth on this one. I don't blame him. 2 tires in the dirt there on the left-hand side for Blake Ziti as they go Noah's Ark down into the hairpin, and Ziti spins the tires on the exit. That means the battle carries on.
Yeah, spinning the tires on the exit's easy to do when you get eager in a car like this. Just a little too much gas a little too soon, and you can make that spin here. But now they're only 2 wide at the front of this battle here. And that's Larkamp and Ziti. The others here are now single file behind them, and now even the front 2 are single file coming through this chicane here.
Ziti with a great run coming off the final chicane. He's going to get the inside in the first part of the corner, but as we've seen, it switches back and forth. It's hard to make that move stick, and he backs out of it behind him. A little bit of an attack from Williams on Scott Barton, and it looks like Barton, or excuse me, the reverse. Scott was trying to see if he could go by JR. No dice.
Yeah, not going to happen there, but this is a great battle now. 7 through 11 is what we're looking at here. This is probably the closest battle on track of what we can find left with about a lap and a half left to go here. This is David Holland's race to lose. And as long as he races it clean and safe, that 3-second gap will be secure here.
So Roon's now up into 9th. He gained 1 spot since he first joined this. Contact between both of them, and he gets all 3 spots in the end with ease. Roon is laughing his way to the checkered flag on that one. After he had his own issues earlier on, he says this is what happens when you fight too hard.
Wow, what a moment for Mackenzie Rood. David Holland has set a new fastest lap, by the way, at the end of the race here, 1:29.390. But we're now up to 7. That's going to put him. Some quick math. That's why. Oh, hold on.
Yeah, that's the replay there, and maybe just lost sight of his brake marker, but it. I mean, that's on the trailing car. That's all his fault, I'm pretty sure.
Yep. Most times, if you rear end someone, it is your fault, even if the driver maybe brakes a little sooner than you were expecting. That is on you.
Good battle here between Court and Williams, still for 9th position. Court goes defensive. He will keep keep Williams off. I got confused there. Groff is also joining it, so he is a part of it here on the final lap. I'm sure they're going to fight all the way to the checkered flag, which is going to come sooner than you think, I'm pretty certain, because already Holland is actually out of Lapingle.
Yep, not too much longer left here as Holland's about to enter the casino straightaway for the last time and start to celebrate that victory here pretty soon. But this battle's going on here. This is Court, Williams, and Groff right here. This is 9, 10, and 11. Look at that battle right there, side by side, racing hard on the last lap.
And victory for David Holland, racking up his 4th win of the season. Wagner going to bring it home in 2nd. San Diego in 3rd, making it a 1-2-3 for Delta Sport. Absolute domination here in Canada.
Yep, once again, Delta Sport dominates. That's why they're top of the points here, Joe, by a lot, is due to that domination they've shown and the consistency they've shown to work together and practice together for good results. But let's watch this battle here. This is Barton, Court, Groff, and Williams coming to the end here in the last couple of corners. I think they're going to finish in that order right there.
Scott up 10 spots in this race. Brilliant drive there from the 009, considering his qualifying didn't look all that spectacular. His racecraft was fantastic today. Looks like Larkamp missing a wing. He must have gotten in trouble at the very end.
Yeah, last time we saw that car, there was a wing on it, so I'm not sure what would have happened there. And now we'll watch this car come through. This will be one of the last ones to come through here as we finish up this final lap here at Montreal.
So Larkamp was the one that we watched get run into with about 2 laps to go, unfortunately. So that explains the missing rear wing. Good on him for trying to wrap it up and at least get to the checkered flag. James Carter going to be your last one across the line. Everybody else a lap down or more here today for round 8 of the Formula C series here in the PRL. We had a great race, even if David Holland kind of ran away in the end and took it. It wasn't by a huge margin, but he is your victor over Connor Wagner, who was 2nd, and Kevin San Diego finished P3. Stephen Ritters was 4th, followed by Robert Ridgway in P5. Mark McDonald wound up in 6th. Mackenzie Roon finished 7th. He only lost 2 spots in the end from where he started this race, although you have to wonder what could have been if he didn't have that issue early on. 18th to 8th for Bartin. Alex Court was 9th, and Jeff Groff was in 10th. J.R. Williams then on the beginning of the next slide in 11th. Blake Ziti behind him in P12. Stephen Larkamp wound up 13th, exactly where he started. So again, that would have been a much better race for him if he hadn't have had that issue at the very end. Tommy Brisson was 14th with Eric Dubé in 15th. And it was Richard Swindells in the 16th spot, followed by Greg Seitz, who had a mysterious extra pit stop that we're not entirely sure about, but we think may have been for damage. James Carter was 18th, last one on the lead lap. Colander finished 19th. And then from there, it was DNFs to the last of the Vargas was a did not start. All righty. It does look like we've got David ready to chat with us. He didn't quite take the pole on this one, but he didn't waste time. He didn't faff about, and he found himself up at the point very early. David, with you having the track position, was it just kind of controlling the race from there?
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, pretty much that's kind of what it felt like. It was a real handful there at the start. I probably looked like I was all over the place. During practice, we didn't really get much time this week, and we weren't really feeling too happy with anything. And then Connor kind of put this whole new setup together right before qualifying, and as you guys saw, he was 2/10 quicker than everyone. So I was like, well, why not? Let's throw it on and try it for the race. So I was a little bit timid there at the start. Wasn't sure how I was going to take the curves and stuff, but finally got comfortable with it under me and just kind of got into the zone and tried to do what I could do to keep him behind me.
I have to confess, I was a little bit surprised. I thought Connor would fight back and try to challenge you for the win. Do you feel like him fighting with sights kind of put paid to that a little bit, or was it, even if he wasn't there, you would have been able to manage him?
Honestly, I was more concerned about Greg than I was Connor. I mean, Connor was super fast too, but Greg really seemed quick in kind of the middle sector, especially into the hairpin. About the only place on the track I think I was quicker than Greg was through the Wall of Champions. So I think we were both really kind of concerned about him. Maybe he kind of burned up his tires a little bit because there in the later stint of the race, it seemed like he was maybe falling off a bit, but yeah, Greg was super fast tonight. It was a shame kind of what happened to them. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I'll have to go back and look, but it looked like it was shaping up to be a pretty good run to the finish, but luckily I was able to get myself a little breathing room with what happened back there.
Indeed you were, and it was a 1-2-3 for Delta Sport. Do you guys take a lot of pride in being able to lock it down in that fashion?
Yeah, it definitely feels good. And also we like running hard and racing hard, and if that happens, great. If not, we certainly like to have other people in there mixing it up too. But yeah, it's always great whenever the team can have a good showing like that, for sure.
Well, congratulations, David. Again, your 4th win of the season. It looks like you might be on your way to another one as it's going.
Yep. Thanks, Joe. See you.
There's David Holland in the number 28 today, taking the victory here at Montreal. We were hoping to get to chat with some of the others, but looks like they're maybe a bit too tired after all that focusing for nearly 45 minutes here today. So we're going to, of course, wrap it up with a big thank you again to our sponsors, Advanced Sim Racing, Racebox Sim Racing, The Butt Kicker, Radness, and Mr. Hedge Sim Racing Photography. Also, thanks to the team today, Joey and Derek. As we mentioned, the next round for the Formula D will be the Nürburgring GP course, but for these cars, they're heading off to Sebring. Respect the bumps. Until we get to that, and until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.